guys in those chairs, why are you sitting here today? What brought you to San Diego? Yeah, the Aviara is a nice place, but why are you there? I know that you're there because you want to be better. You want to be the best that you can be, and you are knowledge junkies. Just like me, you got into the business because you want to help people. Yes, you want to make dead presidents, you want to make money, but you really want to help people, and that motivates you. And we're all on a journey to get knowledge, to become more knowledgeable so we can help our people play better, move better, perform better. At the end of the day, as coaches, we're judged on how our clients perform. John Wooden, UCLA, legendary coach. Attention to detail was phenomenal. Vince Lombardi, phenomenal football coach. Butch Harmon, coached multiple major champions. As this goes up, Coach K, Alex Ferguson, the Scot. I'm a Liverpool fan, can't stand Man United, but by God, I respect Alex Ferguson and the way he delivers consistently. Obviously, Man United have a little bit of trouble right now. They don't have him. Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, phenomenal fighter. Freddie Roach is behind him. And so on and so on. Coach Vermeil. Jurgen Klinsmann, what a phenomenal job he's done with the US soccer team. Turned things around. And on and on and on. But what do these coaches, great coaches, have in common? What is a great coach? How do you define a great coach? Well, yes, I'm a golf coach. But inherently, I have to do one of three things really, really well. And I think that every great coach does this. And that is understand how your client moves, their movement, how the client needs to mechanically transfer that movement to their performance, and then how do they use the coconut? How do they actually think? What's the way that we motivate them? How do we get to that client? And each one of those coaches has a different way of doing it. They get to the athlete, they bring something out in the athlete that they don't currently have. So let's talk a little bit about movement. We live in a society where, as Dave said yesterday, an apple a day is not eating a nice apple off a tree. It's playing with something. It's pecking corn. It's sitting at a desk. That movement's not functional. That movement doesn't allow us to perform in the way we need to perform. But we as coaches need to understand how people move. Do they have the ability to go to the left, to go to the right? Do they have the ability to jump high? Do they have the ability to move fast laterally, to cut quickly? We need to understand the body and how that athlete moves and work around that athlete's ability so that we can draw out from that athlete their best possible chance of performing well. Now the real question is, how do we assess that? And that's one of the most important things as coaches we need to do. Innately, we may be able to look at a player and say, oh man, they've got great speed, they've got it, they have that it. But a lot of times we now know through long-term athletic development that the best athletes don't develop quickly. The people that we put aside in a corner and say, oh, they're never going to be any good. The late bloomers, they're the people that we really should be focusing on. So now we need to understand how do we assess them? How do we find that talent? And I think great coaches do that. They see potential. I think potential generally is used as a huge cop-out. Oh, that player's got great potential. That athlete has great potential. But the reality is great coaches see that. They recruit a player for a college football team. They get them in as a freshman. They redshirt them. They may not play, but that player may become the starting quarterback in their senior year and lead that team to a fantastic record and into a playoff and possibly a national championship. So great coaches know how to assess that. If it's functional, are they really able to do what I need them to do at the right time? So if I take that from a golfing standpoint, do you have the ability to hit the shot when I need you to, whether it be a draw, whether it be a fade, whether it be high, whether it be low? And the reality is, if I know how they move, I can build something for them that's based on what they can do, not what I think they should do. There's a lot of talk about what people do and the way that they do it. As a profession, particularly in the golf world, we're tied up in semantics. Who's right? Who's wrong? What's the best way to do it? The reality is we've got more data, more information. I'm a tech junkie. I've got TrackMans, I've got 3D, I've got high-speed video, I've got force plates, I've got sand putt labs. And every sport has the equivalent information and data available to us, the coach. But the reality is, what's happening to our athletes? They are overloaded with information. It's paralysis by analysis. Yes, mechanics are huge. They are what produce the athletic endeavor, whatever it is. But great coaches build around the strength of that, and they develop mechanics based on the individual that's at hand. If you're a college football, I'm a huge college football fan, as you can tell. But if you're a college football coach and you have a quarterback that cannot throw worth a hoop, you might try and play in the option. If you're a rugby player and you can't cut to the left, you may change that person to a different position on the field. If you're a golfer, you have very poor foot eversion. Your right side of your pelvis gets high, and the club's continually working outside in. Your TrackMan numbers are way to the left. You're never going to teach that person to hit a draw, but you may well teach them to hit a fade. Work with what you've got. Great coaches understand how to make the athlete better based on what they can actually do, not what's an ideal. So for us as coaches, a lot of times we have to check the ego at the door. And I will be the first to say, you get a lot better of that the more you screw shit up. You don't learn from the great stuff. You learn from the mistakes. Every one of those coaches I showed you, they've been in the game a long time. They have had to have results over an extended period. We're way too into the here and now. I want to buy that app right now. I need this, I want this. But the reality is, so slow, steady, sustained perseverance, doing the right things consistently is how you get results. And as coaches, we need to be determined to hold our client accountable, our students accountable. Don't be scared to fire them. If they don't comply, they're never going to be able to get the outcome that they want. We have to be very, very controlling. You cannot befriend them. That's a great line from Alex Ferguson's biography. Never become friendly with them because they'll double-cross you, the rotten bastards. The reality is, great coaches, you're there to empower and to motivate, and you have to understand their mechanics. But the real art to what every great coach does is this. The coconut, the brain. This is the fuse box, the nerve center of everything. You can move like a gazelle. You can have beautiful technique. But if the old medulla oblongata, the coconut up top, does not work, we have a major problem. Every time I go on Twitter, what do I see? I see a phenomenally talented athlete that's done something else really stupid yet again. Great coaches know how to nurture. They know how to motivate each individual. Some clients, hand round the shoulder. Since they were a kid, they've had a trophy no matter what they did. They don't understand in the face, in the grill. Coach Lombardi, I'm sure that a lot of college football players today, baseball players, if Coach Lombardi got in their grill, they'd probably quit the team, cry, go home, and they'd really be in trouble. But we've now moved to a new generation. A lot of times I get told, I'm abrupt, you're too direct. But the reality is, you've got to really make sure that you are able to tell the athlete what they want to know. Understand the personalities. How do you push their buttons? If you can push buttons, you're really going to have a much easier time getting the athlete to perform the way you want them to perform. And then you need to make them understand, hey, what I'm trying to do, can I deliver it at the right time? I have an 80-20 rule. I think every great coach has their own philosophy. But an 80-20 rule, if you can deliver 80% of the time, then it's something that you can move with, you can actually physically do, you have the mechanics to repeat it, and you can actually execute it when it matters. Because the reality is, when you get into competition, when you have to perform, that time, that whole thing of time changes. My best analogy, I use it with my players all the time. I love to cook. You have a restaurant. You have two people sitting in the restaurant. It's very, very easy to cook a fine meal when there's two people in the restaurant. But when that kitchen gets really busy, the shit flying everywhere, and it's highly stressful, it's very, very hard to deliver that same meal with the same great taste and the same consistency. But as great coaches, we need to explain to our players they need to come up with a recipe that they can produce time after time. If we understand how their mind works, then we can teach them to understand their own, to take ownership so that they don't try and deflect when bad things happen. Essentially, the coaching triad, which every one of those great coaches does, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, is the essence of coaching. If you bring those pillars into your everyday coaching, you're going to have the ability to work with your clients to get better results, and you'll find that the client enjoys the process. We need them to respect, to understand that we're the boss. So I really feel like in our world today, if we could spend more time learning, acquiring information, and knowing, and less time telling, we'd be able to coach up. Thank you very much.